Welcome to the Prophecy Club. The title of our topic today is going to be Starlink, and then right out of Revelation 13, and that no man might buy or sell. We know that the time is going to come when all transactions, all financial transactions on the globe, on the planet, will all be monitored, because that's the only way that the beast can stop from people from buying and selling. In other words, he's got to be in control. Remember what Henry Kissinger said, he who controls food can control the people. He who controls energy can control whole continents. But he who controls money can control the world. That's where they're going, and that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, before I get there, I want to back up and I want to cover this, because the whole objective in all of this is to get prepared. But it's also to get prepared to serve, to win souls to the Lord. So I'm going to go back through this briefly, and I'm asking people to join us for our Solemn September Assembly. This will be the third one we've done. This is what started it. It was July the 10th, 2020. Danny Coverstone, in my opinion, had an angel visit him. He says, I saw the calendar turn to the month of September. I cannot tell you how many emails I've got. And said, Pastor Stan, do you think that this Coverstone dream, talking about specifically what is supposed to happen in September, didn't happen that September, but maybe it's going to happen in 2021, or now maybe in 2022? I'm going to show you something, one word, that I think I overlooked, and probably you did too, that gives us a really big hint at some things that are coming. I saw the calendar turned to the month of September. A hand then reached up and pulled the month of September off the bound calendar, placed it on the ground in front of the altar in our secret place prayer room at his church. I saw the altar, the horns of the altar, and the pictures of the second coming and healing on the wall. I was instructed to stand on the month and pray for the church to have a strong backbone. Now, what does he mean stand? I think that he probably was supposed to literally stand on that calendar. But I think even more so, I think it's a warning. It's an advice. It's instructions to the church to stand. In other words, we Christians tend to be avoiders. We tend not to like confrontations. But in the case of confronting the devil, we have to stand. We have to fight. We have to battle. And that's what I'm asking people to do. September the 24th at 9:30 is when we're going to start. Go to prophecyclub.com. I'll give you all the details. Stand on the month and pray for the church to have a strong backbone, because typically Christians don't. Typically they are ones, well, let's just get along. Let's just love each other. But when it comes to the devil, what God is telling us here this time, if our nation is going to survive, this time we have to fight. And the weapons of our warfare are not carnal. They're not holding up signs. They're not protesting. They're not burning buildings or writing nasty words on the windows. Instead, the weapons of our warfare are mighty through God to the pulling down of strongholds, loosing the angels to do warfare. It is time on our fasted knees. Pray for the church to have a strong backbone, for the corruption of the church to be exposed. Have you heard in the last 12 months how that there has been several churches that this corruption has been exposed in them? Well, we prayed that that corruption would be exposed, and it has been. Now, not that I want to see the church hurt or anybody in the church embarrassed, but I do want to have the sin removed so that the miracles can return. Corruption of the church be exposed for a great harvest in the coming months. Now, that's one of the two things I want to point out. Have we seen a great harvest coming to America or any place on the globe? No. Okay, so since the third part of that segment hasn't come to pass, then we have to back up and say, was this talking about September 2020? Or was this talking about September 2022? See, because we haven't seen the great harvest. Okay, so he's saying we should stand up for the church, pray for a strong backbone, pray for the church and the corruption to be exposed. Why? Get the sin out, the miracles come. The very next thing he says is great harvest coming in the coming months. We haven't seen that so far. So obviously, this was not talking about 2020. It was not talking about 2021. Now the question could be, and I think I'm going to shock you before we get through this broadcast, is it about to happen? because there's some people about to say there's a good probability that it is. After I prayed several minutes, I was instructed to help, as I was not enough. So I spoke into the air for the believers to come to my side and pray with me, and the caliber below me was getting bigger exponentially. Then I saw that I was not alone on Tuesday, September 1, that was back in 2020, but I'd been joined by several others. That's right, we had about 400 people come from all over the nation to a solemn September assembly, including Dana Coverstone. We blew our trumpets. We fasted. We prayed. We kept that microphone going. Every 5 minutes, a different person behind the microphone, 48 straight hours right through the night. We did the same thing in October 2020. We did the same thing in September of 2021, and we're going to do the same thing to a degree in 2022. Go to prophecyclub.com. It'll explain. All right, let's go on. Some were praying in tongues, some praying aloud, some very quiet, some kneeling, some laying prostrate. Every model of prayer you can imagine. The cry went out again that more were needed. And I'm going to say right now, if we want to have our nation, we better get to praying. And it's more powerful if we pray the same prayer at the same time. Do the same fast, you see. Needed to pray, so everyone, including myself, were saying loudly that more were needed, more were needed quickly. Then I saw handwritings in front of the word September, those words being a solemn. And then I saw the word assembly written after it. It clearly stated a solemn September assembly. So it was the hand of God that started these solemn September assemblies. Now, Dana told me later that our solemn September assembly was the only one he knew of. And ours was specifically on the Feast of Trumpets, as it is this year too. Why? Because Feast of Trumpets is the Gentiles' feast. It is the day that Jesus returns on a white horse. So let's go on. It clearly stated a solemn September assembly and a clear call to pray during that month. The numbers of the people were growing. I saw that the contours of the calendar were fitting into the outline of the United States of America. The prayers were getting more aggressive. The numbers were growing. It's getting close. When I saw storm clouds over the country, we've seen those in lots of ways, literally and also spiritually. I also saw fires around the country, and in the country, here it is, again, fires of revival. Have we seen fires of revival? No, brothers and sisters, we have not. So, when it backs up and it says here that there's going to be, we need to have a strong backbone, the corruption in the church needs to be exposed, and then there would be a great harvest coming, and then over here it says fires of revival has not come. This prophecy, if it is a prophecy, has not come to pass. Question is, could it be that in this September, we're about to see something big happen? I'll show you. In fires of opposition to the body of Christ, I saw incredible warfare in the heavens, and it was impacting those on the ground with weariness and the saints from the fight. Believers were holding up each other and standing together without any division and fighting together in prayer. And that's what I ask people to gather, is to gather for the solemn September assembly to do one thing, pray for America. Gather under one name, Jesus, to do one thing, pray for America. And the battle was severe and intense and brutal. There were wounds and exhaustion among the believers that I saw as well. The heavens were alive with the same kind of battle. And it seemed like it lasted forever. Finally, the battle was over, and my eyes were drawn to the last few days of September. And the believers who had been praying, they were broken and wounded, but they were standing victorious. We got to pray. We got to pray, my brothers and sisters. We got to pray. Then the heavens opened, and I saw the Lord, and he was standing with the angels behind him, and he said clearly, "Arise, my bride." You know who he's talking to? Talking to me. He's talking to you. Arise, my bride, and prepare to pray. Arise, my bride, arise, my bride. Notice he says it 2 times and then repeats it. So in the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let a thing be established. So when he says it 4 times in the kingdom of heaven, that's screaming at us. Arise, my bride, and prepare to see my face, for I am coming soon, and my reward is with me. Then there was the sound like 1,000 shofars. That's one of the reasons we blow the shofar to start the solemn September assembly, because it is a declaration of war. It is starting the war, and September 24th, precisely at 10:32 a.m., we will be blowing shofars. Why? we're going to meet at 9:30 to get all prepared and get it all up and going, and it'll actually start at 9:30. But the war, the prayer starts at 9:32, and that's going to be with the blowing of trumpets. Now let's jump to another thing that may be telling us a date. Benjamin Fulford says something big is coming as summer deadlock ends. That was a long article, and a lot of it I did not agree with. He tends to think that all of the evil in the whole planet is about to be put down. We know that's not true. We know that unless Jesus returned, no flesh would be saved. We know that they do give the world government, the New World Order. We do know that the Antichrist does sit on the throne and does require everybody to take the mark. So no, I don't think I can call that victory for the church. But there are some victories in it. Here's the part I thought was important. In the U.S., meanwhile, U.S. President DJT may be preparing for a constitutional challenge against the entire intelligence network, say CIA sources. The same sources say the White House, I shouldn't say all that, I'll let you read that. The WH is working with the Supreme Court. The court is now following the Constitution. Chief Justice Roberts is working with the alliance. It was either work with the alliance or be tried and executed for his involvement in the You got to read it. In Canada, MI6 told him he did not need to take action against the communist traitor Justin, I won't say that, because Canada has fallen and has failed. New growth will come. They said changes in Canada are being coordinated with those in the U.S. and elsewhere, that the white hats are in charge. But he kind of gave a date. He kind of said September, October, in that ballpark, didn't he? Didn't he say that? As the end of the summer, with the November, December, that's not the end of the summer. End of the summer is September, maybe October, okay? Let's go on. Now, this is going to tie into Russia produces natural gas supplies to France. Let me try it again. Russia reduces natural gas supplies to France. Government warns rationing is possible. Now, what this is really signaling is that we're real close to war. When one nation starts cutting off oil to another one, like America did Japan, that was, I hear, one of the primary reasons that Japan attacked America is because we cut off their oil. Now, Russia is doing exactly the same thing to the EU. It's a sign that war is close. Now, war is also a sign that the tribulation is close. And the tribulation is also a sign that Jesus is going to be returning soon. Russia has reduced the amount of gas it's sending to a major energy company in France, the prime minister of which has already warned that energy rationing over the winter is now in the cards. Vladimir Putin's Russia has once again cut down on the amount of gas it is sending to the European state, this time targeting France with a reduction in its much relied upon energy exports on Tuesday. Could be that forced to ration the use of energy over the winter months while begging industry in the state to do all that they can to reduce their own usage. Russian state gas company Gazprom has announced that it will be reducing the amount of gas it is sending to France. Those are fighting words. This is the way wars get started, or even less. Newsmax says China's military is threatening to destroy Musk's Starlink system. This is all part of it, too. Chinese military researchers are calling for Elon Musk's Starlink satellites to be destroyed. Beijing is claiming that the satellites launched by Musk, all this is going to fit together in a second, launched by Musk nearly struck the station. Starlink gives the people the opportunity to connect both the internet and do cell phone communications without connecting to the government or state-controlled systems. But Gadstone said China's problem with the satellites does not appear to be centered on fears of a space station collision, but that China believes the Starlink could be ultimately used for military purposes and threaten its national security. I'm going to say their national superiority. They think they're number one in the world. Musk's Starlink satellite constellation represents a major threat to the Chinese Party's plan to knock out American satellites and render U.S. military assets ineffective. If the two superpowers ever go to war, which is why China is working on ways to destroy Musk's machines, while Starlink was developed as a civilian program to provide high-speed internet services to all parts of the world, what's the point? I've told you. Let me grab my cell phone again. I got it on mute and stuck in the drawer in case it rings. Right here's the problem. Your cell phone is not your friend. I'll say it again. Your cell phone is not your friend. Your cell phone is going to force you to take the mark of the beast or lose your head. It can track you. I don't know if you know this or not, but an Apple keeps a running list of your locations that you visit and when you go there. Like, for example, I play racquetball every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon, and I park literally in the same place. If you have my cell phone, you would know exactly. You could be at the parking space waiting for me to drive up. And it's not just me. It's you too, brothers and sisters. Your cell phone is your reporting enemy. It tells them where you are, where you're going to be, where you've been. It tells them all of your text. Everything you have said that goes on the internet, if it flies through the air, if it goes through a wire or a fiber optic cable on the planet, it is being recorded. That's the reason the 33,000 emails that were beat up and deleted with bleach bit, they're still out there. Somebody has them someplace. If it goes into the world system, it's never deleted. What they're really talking about here is they want to set up so that the cell phone, I talked about this the other day. Matter of fact, I got an email. Somebody sent me an email and said, brother, you're right on. The cell phone, one of these days, I'm not saying this one, but a future cell phone, you won't be able to put this backing on it, okay? You hold it, and it is always taking your fingerprints. It's always recording your voice. It's always has the camera on both sides. It's always looking at you. It may not be reporting up, but the cell phone itself knows that if the owner is holding it or not. I can hand my cell phone to someone else and say, go ahead, try to access my quantum financial network through the internet satellites. Go ahead, try it. They can't. Because it wasn't my fingerprints touching it. My face is not looking at it. It's not my voice. It's not recording. It knows who is holding it. Here is your mark of the beast system. And he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a cell phone. Oh, no. See what I'm saying? That's where it's going. And our satellite capabilities that could disable my Starlink satellites, a combination of soft and hard kill methods would do the trick. Vigorously developing countermeasures for China to maintain and obtain space advantages in the fierce space game. All of this, you back up and look at the other things I've talked about. All of this is all talking about we are real close. We're real close to the starting of the tribulation. I don't think it's started yet. I got this also. It says T-Mobile and SpaceX are teaming up to develop a satellite-to-cellular network. This will bring connectivity to many areas previously not covered in the U.S., like on top of mountains, remote rural areas. Nearly anywhere in the U.S., you can see the stars, you can connect. So, this is the interesting part about it. I put it in here in yellow. No extra equipment to buy, it just works. So I've been saying, oh, well, there's not going to be this cell phone. It won't be this cell phone to do the whole trick. But this cell phone, one you're currently carrying, unless you have an old flip phone, if you have one of the newer phones at all, it'll already do it. That's what they're saying.
We are announcing a technology alliance that we call Coverage Above and Beyond.
We're incredibly excited to be pioneering this revolutionary new technology with T-Mobile.
This partnership has a vision that is the end of mobile dead zones. There are 500,000 square miles uncovered by any cellular network.
The Starlink second generation satellites will be able to broadcast direct to cell phones.
If you have a clear view of the sky, you are connected on your mobile phone.
Satellite-to-phone companies are thrilled about SpaceX and T-Mobile, actually. We've been getting calls from all kinds of carriers. On Thursday, Elon Musk got us on a stage with T-Mobile CEO to announce that SpaceX is working on the carrier to completely eliminate cellular dead zones. What are they doing? They're linking our cell phones with the satellites. That's what they plan to do. I've been talking about that for, 3-4 years here? Communicate directly with the phones, no cell towers nearby, with phones that people are using today without customers having to buy any extra equipment. Even though the towers are down, they can communicate This will save lives. That's right. You've got to have the mark. It's going to save lives. You've got to be a part of the New World Order. It's going to save lives. You've got to take this shot. He also predicted that the market for satellite-to-phone communication would likely wouldn't be a winner-take-all. He says it's going to be a space-based cellular broadband network scheduled for launch within weeks. So it's not just years away, as we've been told. It's weeks away. T-Mobile will someday be able to deliver data via satellite SpaceX satellites. Outside the U.S., AST and Lynx have global aspirations. AST has gotten investment and a 5-year exclusivity deal with Vodafone, which is the world's largest cell provider, and has also received investment from Rakuten, a mobile carrier in Japan. Miller says that Lynx testing its service in 10 countries as we speak and is capable of providing it in dozens more, meaning when they get that cell phone hooked up so that if you're going to buy your neighbor's lawnmower, he has to have his cell phone, your cell phone. It has to link through the satellites for you to buy his lawnmower. When it gets to that point, my brothers and sisters, you know that the mark of the beast is coming right around the corner. Supersonic Jet reaches 1,300 miles an hour and hopes to go anywhere in the world in just 4 hours. It goes on to say, the aircraft, called the Overture, has been dubbed the son of the Concorde and can reach 1,300 miles an hour, more than double the speed of the quickest commercial planes now. And it says that Miami from London is 8 hours and 45 minutes. They could reduce it to 5 hours. New York to London, reduced by 6.5 hours to just 3.5 hours. 20 now I know what you're thinking. Yeah, it'll never happen. Watch. 20 supersonic Overture jets have just been bought, not ordered, bought by American Airlines, and 40 others are on hold. But it holds 60 to 80 passengers, business class style, at a cost around $1,750 a ticket. And they said Boom Supersonic said it had more than about $6 billion worth of orders. Virgin Atlantic asked for 10 jets in 2016, while United Airlines requested 15 last year. In other words, this is coming. Okay, how does that relate? We're coming to a world government. We're coming to a world where we're all linked together. It's the world's fastest airline to be rolled out in 2025. Will fly Mach 1.7, start production 2024, fly as high as 60,000 feet. I like this part right here, fly above most of the turbulence, allowing a smoother ride than upon subsonic aircraft. Looking out your window, you'll be able to see the darkness of space above you and the curvature of the earth below. I guess that destroys the flat earth theory, right? Passengers will not hear or feel anything associated with the plane breaking the sound barrier. So, here's where I want to go. I'm calling a solemn September assembly again. Now, this time, because we're going to start the meeting at 9:30. We blow trumpets at 10:32 because that's the official sunset time that officially starts the Feast of Trumpets in Israel. And Israel will be blowing trumpets at the same time we are blowing trumpets. Those trumpets are heralding what might be the start of the tribulation. As you recall, Revelation 6:1 says, "And I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals," that would be the first seal. "I saw when the Lamb opened one of the seals, and I heard as it were the noise of thunder." Now, according to Ken Peters in his dream, that just about everybody accepts, he said he heard what sounded like a 1970s car horn. He said it was loud, it was long, and every ear on the planet heard it. At that same time, he was able to see graves around the world explode open. He said he literally saw dirt flying. It was as if they had an explosive in the grave. He said then he saw people come out. They were all dressed the same. They were brighter than the sun with a bright white glow that came from them. And they were all wearing like these white-looking choir robes with a big cloak around their neck. You could tell the difference between whether they were male or whether they're female. You could tell whether they had died at a young age or whether they had died at an old age. But none of them looked old, and none of them looked like children. He said, "I did not see any flesh and blood. I did not see anybody alive float up into the air or go anywhere." He said, "I saw these people walk around the grave where the dirt had exploded open. I mean, literally, dirt flew, the door of the casket flew open, and they walked around the grave. And he says they only walked around the grave for just a moment or two. He says, and then they disappeared. He said they didn't go floating up in the air or anything like that. They just disappeared. When it happened, all the electronics on the entire globe went dark for about 2 weeks. And he says, and then they began to slowly turn back on. And as they turned on, the whole world had changed. He said it was like everybody in the world, I mean, like all joy, all happiness had left the earth. He said it was like everybody had this look on their face like they just walked out of their mother's funeral. He said it was terrible. There was no joy in the world, any place. Remember, the Bible says that the love of many will wax cold? Maybe that's what it's talking about. Anyway, back to this. So, September. I remember in one of Vicki Parnell's dreams where the angel visited her, where she was taken down into the underground laboratories of the Molochs and the Baal worshippers, and she saw a reptilian woman, and she had just apparently come from Lucifer, and she was chewing out some of the other fallen ones, some of the other reptilians. Remember, Lucifer's a reptilian, okay? And she was chewing him out, saying, you let them get praying. They started praying. That delayed all of this. See, I think that the prayers that, not just us, but the prayers that were prayed in September of 2020 began a delay. It started disrupting the plans of the devil. Now, if you're listening right now, that means you are a watchman. Because the people that don't believe in this are never going to be praying. They're never going to be interested. So I'm calling people to go to prophecyclub.com. Doesn't cost you anything to watch and to pray. But if you'd like to pray and be on it, then you need to register by giving your name and your email. Tell you all about it. Just go to prophecyclub.com. prophecyclub.com. It'll give you all the details you need. CornerStoneAssetMetals.com is where I'll send you if you're thinking about getting gold or silver. I think everybody should have at least a fistful of gold and a fistful of silver, because there could be a time when you pull up to get gasoline and they might not want to take your loaf of bread, but you pull out a gold coin or a silver coin, you're probably able to get anything you want, even if the credit cards are down, even if the dollars are worthless. CornerStoneAssetMetals.com. Next is, I'll send you to EMPShield.com. If you use the promo word prophecy, you get a $50 discount. What is that? Well, it looks like this. This is the one that goes into a car, okay? And you put the red wire to the red side of the battery, you put the black wire to the black side of the battery, and the green one attaches to the body of the car. Then you peel it off right back here. Just peel that off, stick it inside of the engine compartment of your car, and the whole point is when the electricity goes off or when some kind of a suitcase nuclear device goes off, this is supposed to be able to stop that device from destroying every computer chip in your car. EMPShield.com, promo code PROPHECY.